In the far reaches of the galaxy, near a quiet space station called Zereth 9, something strange happened. A small escape pod drifted out of a dark energy storm, damaged and silent. The crew of the station, made up of different alien species, watched in shock. Escape pods never survived those storms, but this one did. Inside the pod, they found a young man. He was unconscious, covered in strange marks that glowed softly. His skin was pale, and his heartbeat was steady but different, stronger. When the crew scanned him, the results made no sense. He was human. But humans were gone. Everyone knew that. The Great Collapse had wiped out Earth and all human colonies 3 centuries ago. No human had been seen since then. The news spread quickly. A human had returned. But how? The man was taken to the medical bay. He didn't wake up, but he whispered in his sleep, words in a language that hadn't been heard in generations. The translator bots couldn't fully decode it, but one word kept repeating: resonance. The station's commander, an old reptilian named Karesh, stood beside the sleeping human. "What are you?" he whispered. "And why now?" Suddenly, the small device found in the pod began to blink. It had no buttons, no screen, just a smooth black surface. Yet it sent a signal, a pulse of energy that reached beyond the station, deeper into space. Something had been activated. And far away, in a hidden part of the galaxy, an ancient machine turned on for the first time in centuries. Its single glowing eye opened, and a deep voice spoke. "The last human has awakened." Koresh stared at the human again, now afraid. This wasn't just a rescue. This was the beginning of something much bigger. Jace Carter, the last known human, lay still in the med bay of Zereth 9. The alien doctors tried everything to wake him, but nothing worked. Curious and worried, they called in a mind reader, a psychic species known as the Velari. Only they could look into the minds of others without harm. The Velari mind reader placed her long fingers on Jace's forehead and closed her eyes. What she saw made her cry out in shock. His memories were not like others. They were powerful, too powerful. She saw war, love, pain, hope, all rushing at her like a storm. The emotions hit so hard that she collapsed. Her body shook, and her voice trembled as she said, "He is not normal. His memories, they are alive." Word spread through the station. Jace wasn't just a human. He was something new, something evolved. Strange things began to happen. Machines around him started working on their own. Lights flickered when he dreamed. One robot near him even began to speak like a human child, though it had no such program. Karesh, the commander, watched closely. He had seen many powerful beings in his life, but none like this. "How can emotion be a weapon?" he asked. The scientists studied the strange device found with Chase. It gave off waves, emotional energy. Joy, sorrow, anger. Each emotion triggered a different reaction. It was like the device could turn feelings into power. And then, Chase moved. Not much, just a twitch of his fingers. But the energy wave it released knocked out power to half the station for 10 seconds. Everyone stared at him, silent and afraid. They didn't just find a human. They found something the galaxy had forgotten. Something it might not be ready for. News of Jace Carter, the living human, spread like fire through the galaxy. Within days, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. The chamber was filled with leaders from 100 different species, all speaking in worried tones. "Humans were dangerous," said Chancellor Brevin, a steel-skinned being from the Kron Empire. "If even one of them survived with power like this, what happens if more return?" Others weren't so sure. Ella, a peaceful ambassador from the water world of Venice, spoke softly. "What if he's not a threat? What if he's a warning?" Arguments grew louder. Some demanded Jace be eliminated before he became too strong. Others wanted to capture and study him. But deep down, they were all afraid. Back on Zereth 9, Jace suddenly opened his eyes. Bright white light poured from his pupils, and alarms screamed across the station. Guards rushed in, but found Jace simply sitting on the floor, breathing slowly. "I remember something," he whispered. They tried to erase us, but we left something behind. He didn't know where the words came from. His mind felt like a puzzle slowly coming back together. Later that night, Jace overheard two crew members speaking through the ventilation system. They talked about a secret order from the council: terminate the human if he becomes unstable. That was enough. Jace slipped out of his room, barefoot, unarmed. As he moved through the halls, security bots turned off. Locked doors opened. Surveillance systems went dark. Jace landed on a quiet mining planet called Vornis 3, covered in ash and metal ruins. It was once rich with energy crystals, but now only a few scattered miners and broken machines lived there. He needed time to think, to hide, to breathe. While moving through the rusted structures, Jace heard a soft sound, a weak cough. He followed it and found a small alien child lying beside a damaged robot. The child's skin was pale blue, and her breathing was slow. She looked up at him with fear but didn't move. The robot, barely functional, tried to protect her. "Stay away, human," it said, voice broken and flickering. Jace didn't answer. He just knelt down and touched the child's arm. The moment he did, a spark of warm energy passed from his hand into her body. Her chest rose, her eyes widened, and color returned to her face. The robot's sensors lit up in shock. "Healing impossible," it whispered. But it had happened. Chase had never tried to use his power like this before, not to destroy, but to help. That moment of kindness sent a wave of emotional energy into the sky. It was small, but powerful, strong enough to be felt across nearby star systems. Ships turned. Satellites shifted. Hunters took notice, and among them, Draxel the Silent received the signal. He locked in the coordinates. "Found him," he said coldly. Back on Vornis 3, the child clung to Jace's arm. Her robot scanned him again. "You are not just human," it said. "You are resonance." Jace looked at the sky, knowing he had just revealed his location. They would come. But for the first time, he wasn't afraid. He had saved a life. And that meant there was still something worth fighting for. The sky above Vornis 3 burned red as ships arrived, fast, silent, and deadly. At the center of the fleet was Draxel the Silent, the galaxy's most feared bounty hunter. He had hunted monsters, warlords, even starborn titans, but never a human. Chase stood calmly on the edge of the ruins, the child and her robot watching from a distance. The strange device pulsed on his wrists like it knew what was coming. Then from the sky, a beam of light struck the ground. Chase was pulled upward, not by the bounty hunters, but by something older. He woke up inside a massive chamber of light and metal floating in the void. An ancient voice echoed around him. "Welcome, echo of humanity. We have waited for you." Before him stood a colossal machine, the Keeper, an ancient AI left behind by the humans during their final days. It had watched silently for centuries, waiting for someone with a resonance to return. The Keeper showed him Earth's final message. Humans had left behind not just weapons, but hope, encoded inside the hearts of people like Jace. "You are the last thread," it said. "You can awaken or end what once was." Chase felt everything inside him shifting, memories unlocking, strength building. He didn't want war, but he knew the galaxy was afraid of him. Still, he had a choice: use his gift to destroy or to change. Suddenly, the Keeper faded. Alarms screamed. Draxel had found him. Chase returned to the surface. The sky was full of warships, but Chase didn't raise a weapon. He closed his eyes. Emotion flooded through him. Pain, love, sorrow, peace. And the air around him began to shimmer. The galaxy had come to end a threat. Instead, they were about to witness a beginning. The fleet hovered above Vornis 3, weapons locked on Jace. Thousands of beings, soldiers, machines, assassins, stood ready to end the last human. But Jace didn't move. His eyes stayed closed. The emotional energy around him began to glow, rising like light from his skin. Not fire, not lightning, feeling. Memories from every corner of his soul poured out. A mother's hug, a friend's final goodbye, the fear of being alone, the hope of being more. The energy flowed into the sky, reached the ships, and touched the minds of every being watching. For the first time in their lives, they felt human emotion, not data, not logic, but real, raw feeling. Draxel aimed his weapon at Jace, but stopped. His hand trembled. Something inside him cracked. He remembered a life he had buried, a family he had lost. Across the fleet, weapons powered down. Soldiers dropped their guns. Machines paused, unsure of their orders. The fear that once united them faded into silence. Chase opened his eyes. A single tear rolled down his cheek. "I'm not here to fight you," he said. "I'm here to remind you what you forgot." The child ran toward him, laughing. The robot followed in that moment. The galaxy didn't see a threat. They saw a mirror, a reflection of everything they had lost chasing power and control. And then, Jace began to fade. His body turned to light, his form dissolving into the energy he had carried for so long. Before he disappeared completely, a voice echoed through every ship, every world, every mind. Humanity was never about power. It was always about feeling. And just like that, he was gone. But his presence remained, and across the stars, hearts began to beat differently. He didn't know how he was doing it, but the station was reacting to his emotions: fear, anger, betrayal. By the time security tried to stop him, he was gone. But in his path, walls were cracked, systems glitched, and guards were unconscious, without a single touch. Jace hadn't escaped. He had awakened. Chase wandered the lower levels of a derelict cargo ship floating near a dead moon. He had no map, no plan, only scattered memories and the strange device still clutched in his hand. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Every time he held it tighter, flashes of his past returned in broken pieces. He remembered Earth, not as it looked, but how it felt. Warm, alive, full of voices, music, storms, and emotion. He also remembered a name whispered in fear and awe: Project Resonance. It wasn't a weapon. It was something deeper. Project Resonance was designed in Earth's final days when humanity was being hunted. The goal was simple: turn human emotions, grief, love, rage, into a new form of energy. Emotions could bend gravity, break metal, heal or destroy. The plan had worked. But the galaxy called it too dangerous. So they erased it. Or so they thought. Chase was the last result of that experiment. Meanwhile, across star systems, the bounty was announced: bring the human alive, or bring what's left. Powerful bounty hunters, machines, and mercenaries heard the call. One of them, Draxel the Silent, had never failed a mission. He accepted without hesitation. Back on the cargo ship, Jay sat quietly, watching the stars. The device beside him glowed brighter each time he thought about his past. He didn't want war. He didn't want power. But the galaxy was coming for him anyway. He stood up. The ship's systems powered on, though no one touched the controls. A calm voice spoke from the ship's AI. "Welcome, operator. Destination: Earth's Shadow Archives." Chase didn't understand what that meant, but something inside him did. The forgotten weapon was not just inside the device. It was inside him.